before the pandemic, I could not fathom doing therapy like on a computer, sort of through this interface. I was like, that wouldn't even work. But then when it wasn't possible to do it in person, I was like, okay, this will work. I guess.
I started doing it during the pandemic, and I did it while I was still in Astoria. And then I now live in the Hudson Valley. And I have another, I should say, better therapist, and I'm still doing it virtually, but I've never done it in person, so I actually don't know what I'm missing.
Never?
No.
Interesting. It's kind of like you already live on Mars. Like all the experiments of, the people live in the dome. They're like, this is what it's going to be like when we terraform Mars and live in these other places. But you're already doing it.
In the sense that it's probably a little worse in every way, at least like slightly worse, right?
You know what I think about? A lot of the ways that technology has infiltrated every aspect of our lives I feel that the idea of how much better it's making our lives is sometimes stronger than the actual experience, like sound quality of a phone call. And how, I understand we were tethered to the wall when we had all the landlines, but no call was ever dropped. It was never like, oh, there's an echo, or there was never all these audio problems. It was just like a phone call was a phone call. And now we're actually everybody with their like earbuds and my power just ran out, or there's all these problems all the time, but we're like, yeah, this is making life easier and better. So, and I'm like, I'm not completely convinced.
Here's something to consider is, so I'm an elder millennial.
What's considered, I'm 1974. What am I? Elder, medium, or young millennial? Oh, wait, you're millennial. Sorry. I got confused.
No, so like I'm like cusp. I'm like millennial cusp, you would say, right?
No, I'm Gen X. I'm solid Gen X.
Gen X. Did I say Gen Z? Yeah, sorry. Gen X. Excuse me. So yeah. So, but I'm like millennial Gen X. Like I'm like cusp, they would say. But I feel like I'm maybe slightly like ahead of my time in that like I now hate getting phone calls. So that's maybe rendered that moot for a lot of people, that the quality of phone calls don't really matter anymore because a large portion of the population just hates talking.
You're like,
on the phone
voicemails
now.
That I never listen to, they sound fine
100%.
If I ever listen to them. Okay. Oh, wait, so when I was saying that, you were like, tethered to a wall? What?
No, I'm not like, yeah, it's not, no, I do remember, I will say I have like a hazy memory. I think I'm probably have used a rotary at like some point in my life, but no, I've certainly been, I've been tethered to,
yeah.
I've used payphones and I was,
oh, good for you. That's good for a millennial, right?
Yeah, well, even, I could beat that too, because I'm from San Francisco and I moved out here like right, I think like 2002, 2003, and I was like a late phone adopter. So like I was using payphones.
Yeah. Payphones. Yeah.
I've been thinking about this. I've been thinking about this a lot, and especially because you're in Brooklyn, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And I was thinking about this too, because I was doing a little Instagram stalking, as one does, just to see, like, insofar as I can see, what you've kind of been up to. And I noticed that you were in my
I barely post. I'm not
I know.
Yeah.
I know, but
not very prolific poster.
But I lucked out in that your most recent post, like, you were close to me, that like you were in and around Beacon, right? I mean, I think your brother
Oh, wait, what did I post?
And I only know this because I take this at like all the time.
Oh, I know.
The
I
Metro
was in
North.
Beacon. Yeah.
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 I was waiting for my brother to pick me up because because I had to get to my family farm in Pennsylvania, and we only have one car, so the car was staying at home. So I took the train to Beacon, and my brother was picking me up there, and I was just like, it was. I felt like when I was younger, I did a lot of traveling when I was young, just like random, 16-year-old traveling around Europe on a train pass with no, like, I mean, this is related to the conversation about technology. I did all of those things there was no phone, there was no GPS, there's nothing. I, there was no email. Um, I somehow got around everywhere. I was fine. I was like a kid. I was a young teenager or like even younger. Everything was fine. But something about having access to some of the tools is a bit of like a brain breaker because I'm like, wait a minute. But if I was traveling around Europe by train now, wouldn't I want
At least at first, and you'd have to recalibrate. I was thinking about
to
this the other day
recalibrate?
because I do I do some volunteer work around here at a food pantry, and most of the people who volunteer, they're older. They're probably like I would say, I don't know why I keep going generations, but I would say they're probably boomers, and there had just been a snowstorm, there's that major snowstorm up here,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden they were like, oh, they closed the schools down if there have been 5 inches of snow, and I was just like, listen to yourselves. I mean, it is this thing that it happens to all of us, right? I mean, we all.
What, aging? It
Well,
does happen
aging
to all of us.
happens. Obviously, well, hopefully, aging happens to us, but also this sort
Should
of
we be
like,
so lucky to
yeah,
age?
exactly.
Yeah.
But also this kind of like, oh, back in my day kind of thing, like that
Right.
also ends up happening.
Yeah.
It's unavoidable. I don't want to say we become our parents, but like, we you do fall into some of the kind of the
Yeah.
traps.
I mean, I think about the technology thing with recording, and like in part, it was the sort of music scene that I came up in and around. Um, it was, first of all, slightly pre everything being digital. But also there was an aesthetic preference to like weird, cranky old equipment, and that sounded awesome. And I mean, my first three full length albums and whatever else I recorded during that time, it was all analog, and recorded on either like 8 or 16 track tape machines. And now I use Pro Tools. I have like gone digital. It makes it a lot more accessible and streamlined, even just to like own my own equipment, fit it in a room, you know? Um, like there, I because I started out doing all of my recording without the ability to like we could punch in, but I couldn't comp. Do you know what I mean? You know what okay. So like there was no like comping the vocal. Um you can drop in, or you can like bounce things and clear a track or whatever. But it it's a different process, and kind of like, if you're writing by hand, or if you're typing on a typewriter. I have a typewriter and I do like that. Or if you're writing on a keyboard, I find that the quality of my writing, it has a different, in a way it's nuanced, but like nuance is readable, and depending on which piece of equipment I'm using to get my thoughts out, the thoughts come out a little differently. And I do think that there's something a little bit different about using Pro Tools or digital recording software, but I also appreciate it. Like, it does. I think it's been easier for me to continue with having some control and agency around my own recording projects that I might have, like, I don't know, like, after moving away from Olympia, or like not being as connected to some of the people who I used to collaborate with. It definitely allows me to be more independent when that's what's on the table. I mean, I do still collaborate with people all the time, but
it's very interesting to me because I certainly, and I think I would have probably have become aware of your music right around that time. I was, as I said before, I was a West Coast person, and I was in school at Santa Cruz at the time. That's,
okay.
I think, probably,
what years were you in school there?
I graduated. What year did I graduate? I graduated 2003.
Okay, yeah. So I toured through there a bunch.
I'm pretty sure that I saw you.
Years.
Like, that I saw you come through. But yeah, that was very much. Yeah, it was the aesthetic for a lot of reasons. One, because like obviously like Pro Tools wasn't as accessible as it is now, and and not as user friendly, but also like there was a very vocal backlash to it at the time. It's similar to the ongoing conversations around streaming versus vinyl, and how you sort of like lose some of the warmth and things of that nature. At the time, did you feel like you were actively making a decision to not record digitally for aesthetic reasons?
No. No. I mean, I fell into this whole thing innocently.
This thing being music?
Yeah. I didn't have a plan. I certainly didn't have a plan this would be like my job, and that it would be my job for this long. I mean, in terms of it being a job, it's not the most well-paying job, but I do love it.
Yeah, I think maybe waiting 7 years between albums might, be part of it. But.
Yeah. But no, I mean, it was, well, I took some recording engineering classes when I was at Evergreen. So I was in college from 1992 to 96 at the Evergreen State College. And I was 17 when I started, and then I think it was my third or fourth year that I took some recording engineering classes, and we didn't learn Pro Tools. It didn't exist yet. There was some earlier. It was a predecessor, some other software. I don't remember. And so I do think it was something that existed, but at least, I mean, there were a bunch of recording studios in Olympia. K Records didn't have anything digital. I mean, when we bounced our mixes down, if they didn't get bounced down to like 1/4-inch tape, it got bounced down to DAT tapes. Remember those? And which was like almost like against the rules because it was like that was like
is that too high tech?
Too high tech. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. These are, I mean,
And
like, mind you, like, these are the days when people were like, like recording 2 cassette tapes to make
yeah,
things sound as terrible as possible in some
I'm
instances.
my first full-length record, half of those songs I recorded on a cassette 4-track.
Yeah.
And I remember being at the mastering place when the person was mastering it and, like, looking at the sound waves on the screen, and I hadn't spent now, 'cause I use Pro Tools, I look at the sound wave on the screen all the time, and you can, like, see all these things and the shapes and make decisions and know where to cut in, blah, 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 but I'd never really looked at it that way before. It was just like a big block, like,
Mhm.
this because I guess I just, like, turned everything up. Everything was, like,
Yep.
turned up, and it was just a big block. Um, but yeah, half those songs I recorded on a cassette 4-track. The song that's on, So You Think You Can Dance, that's called The Garden. I think it's on my second record. It's on Advisory Committee. I recorded that on a cassette 4-track, and then it ended up being, like, on TV. So
How does so, I mean, it sounds like I guess there would have to be several happy accidents along the way in order for you to not only accidentally make a living doing this for as long as you have, but, accidentally wind up on a network reality show, I suppose. But, obviously there's intention there when you're, studying like music production in school. So there was maybe some expectation that you were going to have a job in and around music.
I mean, I had a strong interest. It 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 did start. I think if I had not gone to the Evergreen State College, if the Evergreen State College was not in Olympia and it was not 1992, I think the trajectory of my life could have been quite
Mm.
different. Um, so, like, among the things that lined up were things that had nothing to do with me. It was just things that were happening around me that I
Yeah.
became aware of, and um, like,
I mean,
some
you were
of the
right.
things.
Olympia in '92, so you would have been, right between Riot Girl and the Slater Kinney and
Yeah,
Kay and yeah.
yeah, and I mean, I definitely I I wasn't like a cool kid. I wasn't like, "Ooh, yeah, that's me," and, like, mostly it was that I was being shown all the time by all these different people in all these different ways that, like, it was it you didn't have to be an expert to start, and
Mm.
like, that, like, I could it was just like, you can just do what you want. You do what you feel. And it was extremely supportive. It was, like, people were just, there was a lot of freedom, and a lot of freedom and a lot of support, and life was cheap, I mean, that came out wrong.
No, yeah, well, yeah, I
Cost
guess
of living was
at this
inexpensive,
moment,
that's what I meant to say.
yeah,
Life is
yeah,
precious and valuable.
yeah.
Um, but
Yeah, but
yeah,
that, I mean, that does, really kind of put a fine point on, attempting to, I mean, you're in Brooklyn now. I mean, just like attempting to make a living at art, living in the city, living in
yeah,
a city, especially on a coast in 2026.
yeah, yeah, it wasn't my original intention to, like, move to Brooklyn and stay. It was sort of a temporary thing, and then various life happened. So, um, but yeah, I mean, in terms of, like, intention versus accident, um, I mean, I I always wanted to be a writer and a singer. Like, in my 5th grade yearbook, that's what I wrote in my 5th grade yearbook page. Um, I didn't know that the kind of writing I would end up doing was songwriting. I really had my dad was passionately in love with music of all kinds and was a great singer. And so in my family life, I mean, I quit every instrument ever started. I didn't like stick with my lessons, and I do wish that I had. I really wish that I had. So I don't say that with pride. But uh, but my musical education was through my ears, and my dad had an amazing record collection, and my whole family really, we all just loved music and we all sang. So there was like a lot of music and a lot of joy. And um, that's, I mean, especially as a young person, if you're exposed to something that is like, you know, broadly loved and all the people you love it so much, and it's just like totally brings a lot of joy, um, then of course you're going to move towards that. And um, when I started, I mean, I was like I was like a socially aware young person. Um, I did a lot of anti-nuclear activism and these like long, like
You
weeks
were a
long
child of
peace
hippies.
walks. I was a child of hippies, yeah. And my parents weren't overtly like politically active. They had a lot of consciousness about things, but the way it showed up for them was more about um lifestyle, life choices, and like food. They ate macrobiotic foods and like
I grew up as I grew up as a Reformed Jew, so I feel like I like understand,
yeah,
there's just this like this kind of like liberalism in, like 60s
yeah,
American Judaism. Yeah.
yes, yeah. So it was that, and yeah, and like my dad, um, my dad's family is Jewish. That's the Jewish half of my family, and um, he grew up in like a working class Jewish family. They weren't religious, and like I don't even know. I mean, he had like a bar mitzvah, but it wasn't um very observant. But he wanted to when he had started a family with my mom, which I mean they had to like it took some effort to find a rabbi who would marry them because it was an interfaith marriage, and it was 1968, I guess, when they got married. But they did get married, and like we were raised, we were like hippie macrobiotic Jewish family. That's what was my family.
That's so funny because that's like, I mean, we weren't, we were, more suburban than that, but it's like that, but flipped because I'm Eisner on my mom's side, but it's the same. My dad's an Episcopalian, like very similar.
Okay.
And she wasn't even bat mitzvahed, but they're like, yeah, we're gonna get the kids bar and bat mitzvahed because we just want them to be like something more than just like boring white. Basically, we want them to have some
Although
kind of
maybe we
culture.
still are.
No, of course we are, but I appreciate that from the standpoint, like obviously like everything is complex, but I appreciate that from the standpoint of like, okay, here's like some kind of connection to some sort of
Yeah.
broader culture.
Yeah. Um, and, but so, whatever, for whatever reasons, I like both because of what I was exposed to through my parents, but also the era in which I grew up. I mean, like, what was that TV movie called The Day After Tomorrow? I think it was called. So that aired when I was in third or fourth, maybe fourth grade.
Kind of Cold War.
As I
Yeah.
recall, my mom didn't let us. I don't think I watched it because I feel like she thought it was inappropriate or too scary, which maybe it was. And I don't think I watched it, but yeah, like arms race, Cold War, the extremely dangerous power of nuclear weapons, like the fact that it was a contest to see like how many weapons you could have, each one of which, or like the sum total of which could blow up the world
Yeah,
50
mutually
times.
assured
All,
destruction.
yeah,
Yeah.
all that stuff. And I wasn't like shielded from being exposed to those things. And so my takeaway was no. uh I That's not okay. I mean, in a way, I think about some of the oh shoot, what's it called? Like um the Fridays, Greta Thunberg, the name, it's the tell me the name of the organization. It is worldwide and it is young people and they are protesting and it's about climate change and tell me the name.
I'm going to Google it for you, and then I'll let you do a fresh start. And Greta, Fridays for Future.
Okay, so there's Fridays for Future, and there's one other name that is like it's not Flash. It's like
Fridays for Future. School Strike for Climate. That's what it's given me.
It's like, well, in any case, the youth who are I mean, there's a bunch of youth movements, like,
sure,
but I feel like for me, my era growing up, 9 years old, 1984, the youth movement and sort of political awareness that I first touched into was like anti-nuclear activism. And so I don't know why I got off on that subject, but just talking about like where I began and then where I ended up. Why did I start talking about that?
I'm guessing that there must be some pretty clear connection there between your political awareness and your interest in music, especially having like, socially liberal parents who are really into music in the 60s.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, let alone that like a lot of the music that we listened to that was like like folk music and classic soul and I mean, it's just like and an interesting thing about how the 80s, it's like I'm not sure which one I heard first. Marvin Gaye's What's Going On or Cyndi Lauper's What's Going On. And like but like I was very familiar with both of them. And oh god, I loved Cyndi Lauper. And I have like a picture of myself holding She's So Unusual. Christmas 1984 must have been. But which I only realized years later that the picture of her shoes on the back cover, what you're looking up at is the parachute drop at Coney Island.
Oh.
You know that?
I mean, I know the parachute drop, but I'm not familiar enough with the back of that.
The back cover. Yeah, because it's her shoes and it's like Van Gogh's Starry Night painted on the bottom of her shoes.
Ah.
Because of course, Cyndi Lauper.
Sure. Yeah. High art, low art.
Yeah.
Wrestling and yeah.
Yeah. And then you look up and she's like at the parachute drop. Anyway, yeah, music and
I mean, it's funny because I was listening to right before. I didn't even realize this exists, but I was kind of like, oh, what? I know that it had been again, 7 years since the full album, but I was sort of looking around to see what else you had put out in the meantime, and I hadn't heard the Clash cover.
Oh yeah,
which is great.
Oh, thanks. It's funny, that project took a number of years. When I was asked to take part and contribute a long time before the pandemic started. I can't remember exactly when, but for whatever reason, I don't know, the idea, I mean, I know why. Sometimes ideas take a long time to come to fruition, and this
Because
one was
life happens
because
and you
life
have
happens.
children and
Yeah.
or child, but
So, um, yeah, I got an email about that project. I was like, yes, I would love to do this. Sounds great. And I think it was like, you know, at least a full year, maybe even 2 years after the project was first proposed to me, um, to the time that I recorded it. So by the time I did it, it was totally remote recording because it was during the pandemic. Um, and that, I mean, there are a lot of Clash songs that I am much more familiar with, but when you get an offer like that, it's sort of an opportunity um to like I just, spent a couple days just like listening through and trying to find something that I connected to that I wasn't familiar with or wasn't as familiar with previously. So, um yeah, I mean, I do wish that I'd been able to do a live recording of that, like live in studio rather than remote. Um I think I mean, as per our earlier conversation, I think it's easier to have therapy be effective as a online video call than recording. Actually, like I it yeah, I like music is if you're going to be working with someone else, you can do things alone. There's a lot you can do alone. Pro Tools, you have infinite number of tracks. I could record my voice 50 times over but I can't play every instrument. I cannot really only play a few, only one well-ish.
you're sitting in front of, I see a piano and a drum set behind you. Oh, and a keyboard.
Yeah, I don't I I don't guitar is really the only I can't even play the bass. It's so embarrassing. Ba- like
I can't
it
either, if that's any
okay.
consolation.
Well, I can plunk around on a lot of things but anyway, point being, I wish that I'd gotten to record that song, sort of like live band in studio, but um, we were all working with a lot of limitations during that time. So,
Let me give you a theory
okay.
about why maybe, excuse me, maybe this is why therapy to a certain extent works, is because, for most people, it's a weekly thing that you have set at a specific time every week. Mine's tonight. Mine is Tuesday nights at 6 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
And it's sort of like, where it's like going to a job and you're kind of beholden to somebody to do it. And in this case, it sounds like, you and I were in similar boats in that, like, the pandemic was a terrible time, but, like, and creatively it was a horrible time for me for any number of reasons. And, maybe having some sort of, I don't know if deadline is the right word, but having some kind of
Structure,
external motivator to record something at least sort of helped you get started.
Yeah, no, it did, and there were, oh God, I mean, I, you know, I was fortunate enough to remain healthy during the pandemic, and my child remained healthy, my partner remained healthy, and like, all of my, close family and friends. So that feels like, okay, what more can I ask for, really? But I mean, eh, like my kid was 15 months old when lockdown started, and I mean, I was like just about ready to put him into daycare and have some time, and then it was like, instead, how about 0 time? But I got to not miss anything and got to be with my kid. So there's that. But I mean, it's a funny thing about caring for a young kid is there are certain ways that it's incredibly structured, but there's no, but it's not about me. None of the 3 naps a day that I ensured happened. None of the meals, none of the bedtime, none of the nursing. It wasn't about like me or my creative process or my job or making money. Nobody was paying me to take care of my kid. Um, and so it was like this strange, uh, highly structured, but like Mirah, I like very blotted out, very not focused on. And, um, but there were a few, I mean, like there, I did some of those, paid streaming shows, that was a brief moment. Like no one would do that. No, people don't do that. Didn't like stick. Zoom therapy stuck, but paid streaming shows didn't stick.
Zoom therapy is a convenience. Yeah, I don't like the live shows. That was just kind of this is a thing that we have because we can't
Right.
have the other thing.
Yeah. So like I did some of those, but my whole other existence of like being a person who would play shows and like have this sort of public interface, yeah, and I mean I have to say about playing shows online is like it was hard to really feel it. I mean, it's like, was it better than nothing? Yes.
That's something. Something's
Yeah.
better than nothing.
But during that time, I got several, so the Clash thing, and then there were 2 other cover songs. I did one for Kill Rock Stars, a Raincoat song, and another one for Double Double Whammy. And yeah, it was like they were a bit, like little lifesavers thrown out in my pandemic childcare extravaganza.
Something I've been thinking about since I moved up here. It took me a while to kind of. So I'm I don't know how well, if at all, you know the Hudson Valley, but I'm basically like 2 hours north of the city right now, right off the Metro North.
What town?
I'm in a town called Highland, which is it's right across from Poughkeepsie.
Okay.
Right across the river, so it's the end of, and it took me a while to sort of find like things that I like, that there are like shows, that like Kingston has a venue, like a really cool venue that, I saw like Little Wings, another, one of the groups I used to see, in college all the time. But I went to the venue, and it was it's a place called Tubby's. I don't know if you played or are familiar with it at all, but it's
in
like
Kingston?
Yeah.
No, I played in Kingston, and I can't remember the name of the place. I played a couple times, but I don't think I know Tubby's. But
it's basically like a bar. It's like 20 person bar, but like I saw Woods there. Like basically, a lot of bands who have an extra stopover between Boston and but it. I went to a couple shows there, and I was like, oh, this is something that I've been missing for 20 years. I've been living in Queens, and I love New York City, and I loved going to shows, and I love all the opportunities of the shows that I've been able to see. But even going to like, I don't know, the cake shop or the like a small venue, really. I hadn't really experienced anything that really recreated that experience. We used to put on house shows, when I was living in Santa Cruz, and that is something really special. And that seems to still be something that you can kind of tap into to a certain extent.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the truth is, like, I've played some bigger venues in my time, and some of them, great experiences at some larger venues, and some medium experiences. But I really feel like my sweet spot like is a small intimate show, whether it's, sometimes that is a house show. Sometimes it's like, I always think this is funny because I have zero associations with, I've never really been like a alcohol drinker. And so I don't have like a personal connection to like my favorite bar. But I've played some really great shows in just like, you know, like a rundown, total like neighborhood, but well loved bar that still smells like smoke, and um, ripped up carpet on the stage floor and the whole deal. But what was that place it in Jamaica Plain? I think it was called the Midway. That was like just a couple of years ago. I played at the Midway, and it like it made me have this like very warm, cozy feeling about like just like a cruddy old neighborhood bar, um, which just feels funny to me because I don't drink, and that's the main association that people have with like what a bar is for. But I've played great shows at bars, house shows. Yeah, like a small intimate venue. It is my sweet spot.
I also think about this a lot because, just and don't worry, we're not going to go down this road too much, but just everything that's going on and that has been going on. I think a lot of politics, particularly from the past 10 years, can be traced back to a sense of isolation that people have felt because of technology, right? Because of bubbles that we've been in, and this is like sort of my small sense of hope, and I'm talking to a few people about this, and I'm hoping that this is something that like I'm hoping for now that I'm kind of at a new point in my life and in a new area and meeting new people, like ways to sort of like restart communities and to do that in person. I mean, like, and you certainly you had that in Olympia, right? I mean, I assume that you have that to an extent in Brooklyn too, and I'm hoping that maybe some positive thing to come out of all of this is maybe a little bit of a return to in-person connection.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've been feeling that a lot. There was a big pause. I didn't intend to have 7 years or however long it's been between releases. No one intended to have a big pandemic. I did, have a baby on purpose, but I didn't plan for those things to like overlap, and just it was hard to know what life was just very different for a few years.
And you experienced, loss right on that tour.
Yeah. My dad died while I was pregnant. And it was like right after Understanding came out. Well, he died right before, and then I toured right after the album came out. Anyway, that was the whole thing. It was really a lot. And I the period during the pandemic, I mean, what can I say about this? It was really challenging for me, like mental health wise. And you can't plan for those things to happen or not happen, or can't plan how it's going to resolve or when or how quickly.
You can buy a lot of toilet paper.
Yeah, it's the only thing that's really in our control is how much toilet paper we have to cupboard. But yeah, it was just like, it took a long time. But now, I've sort of like managed to find my way back and make a new album. And also, like, during the same period of me working on this album, there were about 2 years where I was only doing one-off shows. I still felt like my kid was too little to do like touring, and also I didn't have a new release, so I didn't have it didn't really make sense to do like actual touring. So I was just doing one-off shows, and then things started lining up to do more traveling, more tours, and making the record. And in terms of, getting out of my own little life bubble, um, and touching into other people's and going to all these little towns. A lot of the shows that I've been doing were these undertow living room shows.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm literally just like going to someone's house, and then I'm there with, you know, um, 35 to 55 people. So it's like pretty small. And that has really helped me feel not so despondent during this time, second Trump administration, all this crazy stuff with ICE, all like just every terrible thing that we sort of read down the list in the newspaper every day, um, domestically and internationally. It's like, uh, it's really helped me to be touring again and be playing these small shows, even if and sometimes, either I or someone else in the room, sometimes politics comes up, sometimes it doesn't. And it's just, either way, it's like a balm to be. And for my part, I feel so lucky that I mean, it's amazing to be listened to. It's amazing. And, also, like, I'm a mom of a young kid. Like, there's a lot that I just have to like deal with. And so this is like, I get to be sort of in charge.
You command a room.
Yeah, but like I'm commanding the room with love. And I don't even expect anything, but I get so much. And it's really, really, just like fills my whole soul with so much. And it like, then I can bring that home with me, And so in terms of the world and all the craziness, just like stepping out and, um, doing these just like little tours, little shows. I'm going to be doing some, slightly bigger shows at more like venues and have a little band when the album comes out. But I actually don't expect that to feel different, or at least, it won't be like a reduced amount. Maybe it'll feel even more like it's sort of soothing that achy spot of like world pain.
Yeah, and you're at this level of connection because something that, when I moved up here, I was like, okay, so how do I sort of like figure out some of the things, and in a very like abstract level, what's sort of going around in these towns? Okay, hey, I'll join a Facebook group, like famous last words, right? And like terrible, just horrible, just the worst reactionary. I'm like, where am I moving? What is this horrible place I'm moving to with all of these awful people? But maybe something. I think probably something, that you obviously like, it's self-selected when it's your shows. There are people going to see you, but like, yeah, it is a reminder of being able to travel to different places in this very large, diverse company, and realizing that, yeah, there are like a lot of like good people out there still.
Yeah, there's a lot of amazing, beautiful, really good people. I'm like, here I am in Bloomington. Here I am in Grand Rapids. Here I am in, um, where else was I? Just like big towns, small towns. It's good people. Even in America.
I know, it's so fun. It's so weird. I don't know if you've experienced this too. It's so weird to just read like Canadian and European bands just to just posting about how it's too dangerous to tour America now. Just like, well, I guess I guess that's where we're at now. I'm watching
Yeah.
this documentary. Like coincidentally, I'm watching this documentary about the like fall of the Soviet Union. I'm like, oh, this this seems like eerily familiar. There are certain elements of
Yeah.
this that really feel very similar to where we are. But hearing or reading you describe the process of putting this album together, maybe not
Mhm.
feeling, even knowing that you had an album in you, traveling kind of outside of, again, the pandemic bubble. I get the sense that you like suddenly just kind of the spigot turned on.
Yeah. Yeah, very much so. And it happened twice because like and I had tried off and on since my kid was born, um but especially like during the pandemic I would try to be like, "Oh, like we're staying at my family farm for a while. Maybe, like I'll have this schedule. My mom will be my kid." And I tried to sort of fit writing into my mom life. And I don't know, is it me and who and how I am? Was it the pandemic and the stress that brought? Was it like, I don't, for whatever combination of reasons, it, nothing lined up. And I would end up feeling, uh, sort of like, disappointed and like frustrated and like, I can't do it. I can't figure out how to like find the writing place in the context of a day when I have these
Yeah.
things to do that are like so different and just require this totally different part of me. Um, but yeah, I mean I slowly written. There were like a couple songs um over probably like a 2-year period. But then when I went to a close friend who plays on the record, Andrew McGuire, he plays drums, and we've collaborated a bunch over the years. He's been in my touring band a lot, and he was like, "Do you want to just come to my house and do a residency at my house?" And I was like, "Sure." Like all I needed was just that invitation. And yeah, it was such a good experience because I was like, "Oh, maybe I don't have to struggle to try to fit these two pieces of me or these two roles into the same consecutive 24-hour periods. Maybe I need to just I actually am great at going all in on things. Um, there's like certain kinds of things that I'm good at multitasking, but a lot of I don't actually consider myself like a great multitasker. Like I can have like I can do a lot of multitasking in like a home, sort of house and home things, but like if I'm writing a song, one of the main things is it actually sings itself to you. So if you get interrupted from your listening, then you can't get the song.
Hmm.
So if you have a little kid, they are going to interrupt you over and over and over and over. And that's just how it is. And that's not a complaint. That is just a fact. Um, so in order to stay available, have my ears and my whole body stay available to hearing this song. You know, like the melody, the whole thing, the words still, they kind of write themselves, but you have to have the space for it. And that's what's true about me is like, I need at least a week. Like, give me a week.
And I love, like, especially, I didn't put this together until right now, but I love, especially in light of the fact that, you know, you brought up Cyndi Lauper, that like your first, I think it was the first single or one of the first singles out of the gate is basically like a new wave song.
Oh, I know. I know. Yeah, it really worked.
You're just like, I've been bottled up and I'm like, okay, I'm just going to go, like, I'm going to pogo now.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I had the idea. I was like, I want it to sound like this. I like, you know, I could like write paragraphs about how I wanted it to sound, but it was really thanks to my studio band that I was like, okay, you know, I was like the director. So I'm like, guys, this is what we're gonna do. But they really kind of pulled that together.
I never meant to get so bad that you would drop the thing.